Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
With an ever-increasing demand for potassium due to increasing crop yields, there is a need for a better source of potassium with improved availability and uptake potential. Alpine K-Tech is the most plant-available form of potassium and is able to enter the plant quickly and easily. As a foliar application, K-Tech is tank mixable with many crop protection products, thereby increasing the grower's resource use efficiency. K-Tech offers balanced fertility and an added energy source for the plant. The latest development of premium crop nutrition is doing a lot more with a lot less for your crops. Learn more at www.alpinepfl.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. Today, I have a great guest with me, Elaine Froese. Welcome back.
Thanks. Great to be here.
I am so happy to have you back on the show, and we have a great episode for you guys today titled Thriving During the Great Pause. Whew. After I say that, I just, you know, I can't even begin to put the last couple months into words. And I know so many people are feeling the same. I've said it a few times. I'll say it again. I am a grateful person by nature, and I like to be thankful for what I have. But I realize there is so much I have taken for granted. And you realize that when COVID hit and you're just grounded to a halt. And I know myself, I have had to go through such a transition and just work through so many things, business and personal and travel. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, Elaine, so that we could start to switch our mentality, right? When hard things happen, there are opportunities in there, and that's why I want to get you on and talk to our audience and share some wisdom. But before that, I want to hear your thoughts on how this has been for you, and you work with farmers day to day. How's everybody feeling out there?
Well, it's been really interesting because I'm in association right now doing some consulting work with BDO, and every Monday I get the report, and as we're taping this at the last day of June, it's week 16 for us. And how it's been for me is it's been great for my husband. He's had me beside him for 16 weeks.
Nice.
lots of good home cooked meals. And the other blessing for us is that my son and daughter-in-law, who are our successors, live 50 steps away across the shelter belt. So I've also been nanny to a newborn grandson who was born April 17th on my daughter's birthday. Nice. And so our family bubble has been very intense, but it's been very good because it's been a very, like you say, time of counting blessings and being grateful. And I think the whole attitude of what we can be thankful for will help us, give us that resiliency to bounce back. But I challenge you, Tracy, to call this thriving during the great pause, because early on I read a piece about renaming and how we frame things. And if you frame this as a great pause, then my question as a coach is, what are you learning and how are you becoming better, and how are you resting or sustaining or renewing during this time? And so for those of us in agriculture who are used to self-isolation anyway during seeding, it was pretty normal in a way. But when our customers came on the yard, we had a sign up and it said, please stay in your trucks, and we have hand sanitizer, and we're following all the protocols. But I just think you come to realize, and it's even just this weekend when we went to our lake house, I saw the duty-free sign and went, oh, I wonder how they're doing, because nobody's crossing the border. And it's just this ripple effect of all the things that are all interconnected that you don't realize until you actually stop and think about what is truly important. So I'm calling it the great pause. And in this time I've been working on my business. I'm certified now as a virtual speaker, and got my headset in, talking to you on my Yeti mic. I have my office all well lit up, and we're just leaning into it. And, I have this one presenter, she kept going like this, to really emphasize the point.
Leaning into it literally.
Yeah, like leaning into it. And so you change, you still want to be engaging, but I just had a coaching call this morning with one of my young farmers from the East. And what I've been seeing in farm families is whatever was existing in the family dynamic before the middle of March, it's just been amplified over this time. So while people think, oh, Elaine, you must be glad to be home and having a good rest with your family, I'm going, no, you don't understand. We're having lots of calls. Yeah, lots of calls, Tracy, because I had one farmer say to me, Elaine, I'm a smart guy. Yes, you are. And he's a very successful farmer. And I know him personally. And he said, I was losing a lot of sleep thinking about the chaos I would be leaving my family in if I got sick and if I didn't get my affairs in order. So either people crawl into a shell and hide, or they open up to possibility about, oh my goodness, what do I need to get done during this time? So everybody gets to choose their response to the challenge.
I think I've had a little bit of everything in my response. I've had the French Irish come out,
Yes.
my heels in. I had to go through that. And then I went into a little bit kind of into myself, right? Because my business and my life changed dramatically. So you kind of just take a step back and go, okay, what does this mean for Farm Marketer? What does it mean for the Impact Farming Show? And then go, okay, same thing. Tracy, you're a smart girl, or you like to think you are.
No.
How can we reframe this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you have been finding, and that's one point we were chatting earlier, and I wanted you to share that because I'm a big one on being open about what we're going through, right? Yeah. We're all humans, and we all kind of go through the same human experience. Sometimes we get shy and we don't want to admit to others that we're concerned or worried or stressed. But at the end of the day, we all go through the same thing. So I want you to touch on that. And if people are at home and feeling overwhelmed, just to leave everyone with that note that you're probably not alone, right?
No, you definitely aren't alone. And way back in the day, Dr. Nikki Gerard did a study called What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. And she had a picture of a barn from Highway 11. For those people who live between Regina and Saskatoon, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's called the Luker Farm. And on the roof of the barn, Tracy, it says the Risk and Hope Farm. So there's this feeling of, we're taking on risk, but we also have a sense of hope. And Patty Duran, who you've interviewed from FCC, who's their transition specialist, who's a good friend of mine, she has this classic line, without hope, you're hooped. And so for people feeling grief and challenge and conflict and intention around all of the stress of the great pause, I really would encourage listeners to reach out for help. Yeah. And that's what farmers are doing with me. They're reaching out to say, Elaine, we need some conflict communication coaching, or Elaine, we need to get some of our affairs in order. And I had an 86-year-old call me last week, and I said, what made you call today? And he said, well, Elaine, I am 86.
85 wasn't old enough.
and then I asked him, and I was interviewing him and his dear wife, and they have a heavy burden for making things right in their family, and they have some challenging circumstances. But he's a grain news reader, and this March celebrated 25 years of writing in grain news. So I'm now writing to the next generation, and the message is still the same. You wake up every day and it's your farm, it's your family, it's your choice. So how we want to frame what we're going through happens a lot up here. And if we get rest, and if we've got the crop in and we get rain, we're sitting here today waiting for rain because we only got half an inch this weekend. But the poor folks in Brandon and north at Rivers, they got like 10 inches. So then there's already the normal farming stress of operating a farm. And you and Anthony went through your flooding experience, and we saw, how many thousand views you had of your cattle getting to higher water. So we like to think we're a resilient kind of people in agriculture, but I think we really need to pay attention to what our bodies are telling us and really seeking out the renewal and some fun in this time of the great pause.
I like it. And when you suggested this episode, I was all on board because it is so easy to focus on what we've lost, right? And I know I find myself going there. Oh, I can't travel. Oh, we can't go on, right? And it continues and continues. And really, our thoughts are in our control. So let's flip it. And
Right.
I'm working on that, and it's hard, right? How do we have a little more fun at home? Or XXX. I'm not going to jump into it because you're going to give us those great ideas right away, but I just love the wisdom that you share. So why don't we dive in, and can you share with our audience some ideas of yours that you have?
Well, I wrote an article that will be coming out on my blog in July, kind of the same time when this goes out. So I called it Increasing the Fun Factor on Your Farm. And so I've just brought some props. So one of the things I have here is a little painting that some friend, this wasn't my granddaughter, she's only 3, she's not this prolific yet with her art, but just the whole idea of how can you get restored in nature? And obviously we're farmers, right? But have you actually printed out the park pass? Because you can go to the park. You can go to provincial parks. Last week we had the thrill of our annual Cousin Fest, and we met in Clear Lake 2 days out of the work week, but it's a high priority because our family is very fragmented and lives in many different provinces, and we don't get together a lot, but we got together with our Manitoba cousins and had a lovely time at the lake, and it just felt like, oh, you just want to visit and you just want to talk. So art, in terms of doing things at home. So here's another thing I'll just put in front of the screen. This is from my summer art camp that I did with my friend Jan Lay years and years ago. And what I suggest in the article is getting supplies and getting things out to do what you thought you'd do when you were 65, or, oh, I'll get around to that sometime. But if you're not getting around to it, then I would suggest now is the time to start doing some of the things. And my granddaughter was over yesterday while her sister was getting her vaccinations, and we just practiced with the paintbrush and want to get on the creative side. And I saw an amazing video this weekend with Eric Wall, who's an award-winning artist in the US, who, as he speaks, he's painting. And so he's making these amazing paintings while he's speaking. Wow. And then he goes and raffles off the art for charity. So baseline of this encouragement is whatever creative thing you do, whether it's gardening, and for me it's flower arranging. Our church is starting to gather again, which is something new. I took flowers. I mean, that's what I like to do. Or I take flowers to people, and even though you're doing physical distancing, you can still have some fun and engagement. Now, I go out to Meals in the Field, and this rock is actually a river rock from my lake house because the people who owned it before put in river rock. But my little granddaughters love to bring me rocks to make stone soup, and so we have this little game. But the other thing you can do with rocks is you can paint them different colors and have a scavenger hunt on your farm, just like you would have an Easter egg hunt. And then Patty Durand also posted something recently on Facebook where she and her family enjoyed geocaching. So if you just type in geo-caching in Manitoba or whatever province you're in, that's another fun kind of treasure hunt that you can do that's organized, that's a very legitimate association that you can have fun with. I remember my dad taking us around for, we got to go check the crops or else go on Sunday drives. Well, maybe you just want to do kind of staycations where you pick some place in Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Alberta or BC, wherever you're listening, and say, well, we've never gone there. Why don't we just drive there and see what it's like and stop for ice cream and have some fun the old-fashioned way. And I just heard this weekend, my girlfriend's daughter just graduated with her diploma in agriculture, and she's in a really tight-knit close of high school grads. And this one young woman in our town, her name's Sydney, she planned a whole amazing race for these women. Yeah. So for those of you who know how Amazing Race works, make an amazing race. And then, of course, we've had people, you've seen people with the birthday parades. We had a parade for our graduation in our town. But maybe you're at a lake campsite setting and you want to have a bike parade, or you want to have a boat parade, or you want to have a pickup truck parade. But, those are just fun things that just take a little bit of thought and organization to do. Sorry. I mean, you can interrupt me anytime, Tracy, but I have another one is picnics. gourmet food, local food, all your foodie friends, have a theme around the picnic. And on my desk here, I have this friend in Calgary. Her name's Tina Vargoose, and she does a keynote speak called 50 Shades of Beige. And so with the whole thing that's been going on in the South with all the violence and protests and stuff, she's an expert speaker on diversity and inclusion. But her family this whole time has been posting Facebook pictures about how they've been dressing up for supper. Now, she, of course, calls it dinner because she's urban, but we would call that supper. And so, again, dig stuff out of the thrift shops, which are now open, or find out what you've got and just have some fun playing. And I wore this shirt for you because this is my shirt from Mexico. And when I wear this shirt, it makes me feel like, oh, let's go dancing, or let's eat salsa, or let's have some fun. And so my curiosity is, have you put on makeup? Have you made yourself feel special and different? Even if you're not leaving the farm, just enjoy being healthy, being able to gather as family, and think about changing the environment or the way you dress so that you feel like you can have more fun.
Love it. Those are some great ideas. I was about to jump in there on the parade one because I seen the neatest thing on social media. Maybe you've seen it floating around, but I think one of the hard things that people are experiencing is the lack of connection, right?
Yeah.
And especially in small communities. So this video really hit me when I seen it. I think it was in the States somewhere. So a lady, and you didn't even know what was going on. It popped up as a Facebook video suggested. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. I'll watch it. And this lady's coming down her driveway. It's like her daughter's leading her. And then she's like, no, come to the end of the driveway. And then all of a sudden you hear sirens blaring and horns honking. And I'm like, what is going on? So the neatest thing, this lady was about to start her cancer treatments. And the community, I'm getting chills just thinking about the community, because normally they would drop in probably and give gifts.
Bring soup and stuff.
Support her. But the community rallied around in a COVID-friendly way, and you see this big, long, it's got to be an American road. It just looked American. And this big, long stretch of cars and ambulances and cops or whatever they are, Mounties, whatever they are in the States, just coming down. And then some of them just stopped really quick and then dropped a gift to the daughter and then just said best wishes. And I think that is part of what people are really missing. Weddings are canceled. Weddings are a big family and community thing, right? And it's so easy when those things are gone to feel isolated and disconnected, right?
Right. And so the other thing is I just called my aunt on Sunday who turned 96.
Wow.
And she's an English war bride. So she married my uncle who used to fly in the RCAF. And my Auntie Marge is a lovely woman, and she's healthy. And I was at her 90th party. But I said, Auntie Marge, does this remind you of what it was like in the wartime? And she said, yeah, some of it is the same. But, we all long to be connected. And that's what she is missing the most, is being able to hug her 3 wonderful sons who are my cousins. But just the whole getting back to the point about connection, I also have been making things in my sewing room. So this is a print from my girlfriend who is actually going through a cancer journey right now. And I helped do some things for her. But this is a scrap of fabric that's important to her from Africa that I'm going to make into a travel pillow for her granddaughter. But it has little envelopes on it, and that's why I'm holding it up, because there was a post today as well about how pen pals can keep you healthy. And you think about sending people emails, but how good is it to have an actual letter? Like how excited do you get, Tracy, when you go to the mail that there's a card for you and someone has actually said, thank you for the amazing work you do on Impact Farm Marketer, or that guest you had on really impacted me and made a difference. Like, that's the fuel for the soul that keeps your emotional bank account full. And so I'm a big believer in getting back to some of the old ways of connecting that have that lasting message. And my niece, Angeline Schellenberg, just did a book, Fields of Stone. It's a poetry book that she's an award-winning poet. And she took the love letters from my in-laws, from my mother and father-in-law, and juxtapose, put them side by side, of him always speaking on the left-hand column and her speaking on the right. And it's just amazing. And one thing that my mother-in-law usually said about the garden is you only need a touch of white. And so that line had a lot of meaning for me, because I remember her saying that. And so now as I see my perennials bursting forth and the Shasta daisies coming and some other perennials I don't even know the name of, a touch of white is coming. I look at that and I think, yeah, that's my mother-in-law. That's her presence still on this farm, speaking to me with what she left behind. And so therein lies another thing you can do in the great pause, is go to the shed and start cleaning out the old farm tools, the cream cans, the size. Explain what these things are to your grandchildren, and share the story that goes with it. We have a cream can that has Elaine Froese that's at my back step. And my sister-in-law, who's an oil lawyer in Calgary, took another can and had it painted with a scene of the farm as her piece of the farm that she took to Alberta with her, right?
Great. Yeah.
So, I know in the beginning of the Great Pause, they talked about Marie Kondo and everybody's decluttering and getting rid of stuff. And beauty creates energy, so that maybe that's a good thing. But maybe it's time that you started attaching story to some of those treasures and give them with a warm hand. And I'm the family archivist, so I've got a lot of stuff and a lot of stories to pass on.
That's lovely. And I'm not sure if this is going to hit it on the head for you, but what I'm finding, what comes to my mind is silly kind of words, but kicking it old school. Pausing. What? My life, and I know many of my friends and family, we've chatted about this. We're so busy going places because it's fairly cheap and we have reliable transportation and we're just so fortunate. We always go. And we're always doing, and technology, right? And something about this experience during the Great Pause has seemed to bring out a more traditional aspect to our lives. Like there was that big trend where everybody wanted to make bread. I even made bread. I don't make bread all the time, but all of a sudden I'm like, I need to make bread. Where did that come from? But it just kind of bringing us back a little bit to the roots. And I know it's not only me feeling that way, which is quite nice. And I think the name, The Great Pause, is absolutely perfect, because my life has literally, from traveling 4 months, just like you, Elaine, from traveling 4 months out of the year to nothing. Every interview I've done for this show has been in person. Up until this point, probably just about 100 episodes were in person, and farm shows, I was on the road. Now, finally a pause. And there's something magical that happens when you give yourself time to relax and breathe and assess. And feel grounded.
Yeah.
So
let's jump on your need to make bread, because I've been I graduated from university in 1978 with a home ec degree, which is what brought me here to work with Manitoba Agriculture in Boisevine. And then I did the right thing. I married a local farmer. Okay. It's our 39th anniversary this weekend on Independence Day.
Wow.
More on for marriage, of course.
Congrats.
We always have great fireworks in the U.S., but I guess we're not going there this year either, but that's okay. But the bread making thing. So here's the thing. I have people who are now wanting to learn how to can peaches or how to make rhubarb jam, or, so then the technical skills of homemaking or of gutting out a motor and fixing things, there's lots of opportunity. And I heard a grandpa on video at mysouthland.com talk about how this Great Pause has been a special time of him sharing his spiritual legacy with his grandson by doing Bible studies together every day, because the kids were being homeschooled. And so it's reconnected me with my sister too, who's lives in Victoria. And we have this new family thing now where we connect every Sunday, regardless of what's going on in the week. And so it's not a bad thing to think about what the distractions my condolences to all of you guys missing the Blue Jays, because my husband, he'll get up from supper at night. He says, "Oh, I think I'll watch a Blue Jays game." And then he looks at me, and of course he's not, right? But he's
Yep.
really missing that.
Yeah.
And sports and the things, and theater and 4-H rallies and fairs and farmers markets. So all of these things have been taken away for a while. And so my curiosity is, what do you really want? What would give you a sense of fun and a sense of lightness and joy? And for me, it's the phone. So Tracy, I've taken over the nursery. I have a room in my house for my grandbabies that has a crib, a Murphy bed, and a rocking chair. That was my mother-in-law's. And I sit in that rocking chair, usually at night between 7 and 9, and I talk to my girlfriends all across Canada, wherever, on the phone. And my husband walks by the door and he goes, "Oh, so now you've taken over that room too? You have your own phone room?" I go, "Yeah, isn't that great?" So it's a place that I can go and be comfortable. It's out of my office because, again, Zoom fatigue, right? That's the other thing. Just because you can go on Zoom and just because you can go on Instagram and Facebook, should you be there? And that's where, you're getting those dopamine fixes that they talk about in neuroscience, and your brain is like, "Ugh." So I try and make a habit on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, of staying off my devices as much as possible, just to get that rest and renewal time, which is another form of pausing. And I have a speaker friend, her name is Pat Katz, and her website, very interestingly, is called pause.com. I highly suggest you, because she's got a lot of great resources on just paying attention to what's around you. And she, amazingly, is also a beautiful artist and has really used her transition time into doing more artwork as well. But she's a farm girl from Saskatchewan who's become a professional speaker and has a lot of wisdom, attention to that pause, and that pausing is not a bad thing.
And more than anything, I think this pause, as tragic as it has been for the people that have lost loved ones, and for as frustrated as we are that our freedoms have been taken away, I think this has given a lot of people permission, or forced, might be the better way, to simplify their lives. I was talking to a lot of friends, and we all love our lives, right? Farm friends, non-farm friends, and we're all very lucky. But a lot of our friends have children, and they go, in addition to the farm, they go nonstop with every single sport all year. And they love doing it, and it brings them joy, them and the kids. But on the other hand, they farm, they're very, very busy. They have the sports, they have community. I think on one side, a lot of people are feeling relief that the stop button has been pushed for them. Because who would have actually stopped all of these things in our lives? Nobody will. We would just continue going. And this pause has given us that permission to just simplify.
And the baseball schedule has been shortened, and in our town anyway, there is baseball happening now, so the kids are really happy about that, right? Baseball's back. The swimming pool has swimming lessons. But I also wanted to mention the website, John Kaczynski, I think is the name of the guy who was on The Office. I don't watch The Office, so I don't know who he is. He's married to Emily Blunt, for all of you Emily Blunt fans out there. Anyway, he has a video series called SGN, Some Good News. And it's amazing how it's been uplifting also during COVID, just to watch and see how people have been creative to create fun and good news, like proms and graduations and all those major markers in people's lives. And it's the creativity that's required when things are taken away from you. So, we built a sandbox. I'm so thankful. Last year I bought an $18 swimming pool at Home Hardware, because that thing gets filled up with water, and there's toys and water flying around. And you can't get a hot tub or a trampoline to save yourself, because everything that people want to, enjoy a better experience in their backyard, has been snapped up because people are staying home and creating fun in their own backyard. So for farm families, it also means that we need to be safe, right? So my grandchildren do accompany their father on some of his tasks around the farm, but safety is always the first priority, and they know how to buckle up, and we're very conscious about that too. But I just wanted to there's no judgment, Tracy, in the fact that you want your children to have really good experiences, but there is this like you say, a redirection of time when there's no sports to go to, and but there are still the ability to build fires and campfires. And I also want to say, as a former camp counselor from Camp One to Come Back, where we sang a lot of camp songs, I also want you to reinstitute getting some kind of campfire ring, because there's also power in being able to sit around a fire, share story, and share connection and create fun that way. And I had a group of 16-year-olds come for a campfire, and they typically wouldn't, just come to hang out with me, but they came to kayak, they came to be around a campfire, they knew there would be orange crush floats, they knew there would be s'mores, and this is fine. As long as there's good food and something to do, they can have a good time hanging out. So I'm just saying, just don't forget the simple pleasures that we can create some of this fun with too. And we already have the axe, we have the wood, we probably have the space on a farm to make a campfire pit, and let's make that happen.
You know what? That is great points, Elaine. And again, it just comes back to making the best of what we have at any point, right? You can look for the bad and you're going to find it, or you can look for the good and have the best summer of your life. And you know what? I'm working on that. I had this day tripper's guide. I bought it, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago.
And it's been on your shelf, Tracy?
Been on my shelf. The shelf like yours in the back has been on my shelf. And then the other day I said, my province has a lot of beautiful campsites. Why don't I pull that out and make a point to try and go to a couple? Of course, it's busy with work and farm, but just if I can go to a few new places, that will fulfill my need for adventure and exploring, right?
And we also need something to look forward to. So our Cousin Fest at the end of June was something to look forward to. And what can you create for family? Our anniversary, my daughter-in-law is going to give us an anniversary supper. So that's something to look forward to. And we would like to have something to look forward to. So let's create that sense of expectancy for our families.
Can I share something with you? When I heard this, I don't know who said it. It just stuck, and it has kind of been my guidepost for life. There's 3 things that are the key to a happy life, if you want to call it that way. Someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. And I find if I get to a point ever in my life, and very fortunate, have a great life, but if I'm ever feeling a little lackluster or just a little bit off, I go, okay, someone to love, yes, very fortunate. Something to do, yes, very fortunate. Something to look forward to. And then I go, oh yeah, what I was looking forward to is done. What's that object that I want to strive towards? Or, right, it's keeping something exciting in the future. And then we all know, anticipating something is almost more fun than doing the thing. Well, and that's what I've learned. Yeah.
A lot of farmers are anticipating a great harvest and hopefully an open fall and praying for a really good frost-free September.
Yes.
In farm families, we do have people of both genders who like to work, and they don't know how to have fun or rest, and there is tension around that, Tracy, and I challenge that as well. So if you're listening to this and say, oh, must be nice to have your life, Elaine, or must be nice to have your life, Tracy, don't compare. Comparison is a joy stealer of all kinds. Yeah. So what I would encourage listeners to think about is, if your spouse or your personal, whoever's closest to your significant other, your partner, doesn't want to participate in the same kinds of fun that you do, then connect with your other friends to do that, or other family members. Who says you can't go exploring to thrift shops with your sister? Or who says you can't go golfing without your wife if she hates golfing? So just don't get caught into I should. Rather change it and say, I choose to do this. Would you like to join me? And if you don't, that's fine. You have your own way of renewing and enjoying different kinds of fun. And we all have 6 key roles. So you mentioned taking care of yourself is really important. And so for me, it would be gardening, being outside, going for walks, having a way to be creative, which would be in my writing or painting. And I do have an art room too, separate from my office. My husband and I share the bedroom, and he has the living room with his
I was going to say, where does Wes fit in? He gets outside.
You fit in my house, Tracy. You know, he's got a good size, but you know, he doesn't want to watch TV right now because sports aren't on, so he's not really that interested. Anyway, so the 6 key roles are how you take care of yourself, how you take care of the people you love in your couple meaningful relationships, how you take care of your family. And we have a lot of moms right now who are really, really tired. They just got done homeschooling, maybe. They are in the farm thing, watching crop protection happen right now and watching the sky. And it's been an intense 16 weeks for them. And so I would carve a little me time and say, you know what? I'm going to go by myself to my girlfriends, or that's what they might need to recharge or renew. So self, couple, family, and then of course it's the farm or whatever work means to you. And for many of us, it's farm plus off farm, and how you're balancing those roles. And the next one is friends. And I think friends is the one for having an increase in fun factor this summer. What would you love to do this summer to build those friendship relationships back up again? And then the last key role is community. And, you know, even just going grocery shopping is an event now, because you just want to visit with people that you haven't seen in a long time, or that you happen to run into. And of course you do that well with physical distancing and stuff, but it's amazing how grocery shopping or going to the post office can be an event.
It is. It's exciting seeing people. Who would have thought?
Yeah, exactly. So just in closing, I just encourage viewers to take one day at a time, be thankful, and rest your brain. When you go to sleep at night, get that Hilroy Scribbler or a journal out and do a brain dump before you go to bed so that you're getting good rest. Because I've talked to 2 young farmers in the last 2 days who thinks that 4 or 5 hours of sleep is enough, and it's not. And there's a website called sleepwell.com. Amanda Hootie in Saskatchewan has a whole bunch of coaches all over Saskatchewan that can help you restore and get that back into sync better. And if you're anxious and fearful about your financial situation, reach out to your creditors and lenders and have a conversation with them. Reach out to your mental health people. And I know you're a big advocate as well, Tracy, for mental health, and Do More Ag and the Rural Farm Support, ruralsupport.ca. It's okay to ask for help. And you know what? It's okay to ask, say, you know, I'm just curious, are you busy on Saturday night? How would you like to come over for a campfire? We have cell phones. And you know, people used to drop in and visit on the farm. They don't drop in anymore, which I find very interesting, because you always have a cell phone to call ahead and check. I said, hey, looks like there's some smoke coming from your place. Do you mind if we join you? And we did that one night with some friends years and years ago. And they were so happy that we didn't just drive by the farm, but we actually pulled in the lane and said, hey, are you okay if we join you? And they said, absolutely. Nice. So you're never going to get things if you don't ask. So ask for what you need and be prepared for it.
Excellent. Those are great words of wisdom. Thank you, Elaine. I'm so happy to have you on. You are just such a pillar of the ag community and full of great advice. So thank you.
People are more than welcome to find me at farmfamilycoach.com and subscribe to my blogs or visit my YouTube channel. But just there's lots of resources just to keep encouraging one another. So let's get through this one day at a time and figure out what the blessings and the lessons are and how we're going to come out the other end.
I love it. So I would like to challenge you in the audience. What are you going to do to thrive during the great pause? I have my list. I'm curious to hear what yours is. I was going to ask Elaine, sorry, did you paint that?
Yes, I did. But You see, and this is a story behind it as well, because I've been painting and doing art since grade 4 when I had Mrs. Klecki, and I've taken classes and whatnot. But the joy for me is just creating something and having the supplies on hand to be able to do it when you can block the time off to do it. So, sure, I'm not selling my art, but I'm enjoying it, and that's okay.
That's all that matters. We get so tied up in this generation in monetizing things, right? We can do stuff for joy. I can go home and grab a canvas and paint stick people if it makes me happy.
Right. Or actually, as a writer, I'm really into signs. So at my college, I have a sign that is courage. I have a chalkboard that I change the words on quite often. And I've met some young moms that have turned that into an off-farm income, becoming sign makers. But I would caution anybody who's addicted to Pinterest or Instagram, just be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get ideas, but don't let that be your only source of information, because I think there's a lot of power in doing the creating yourself too. Yeah. No offense to Instagram or Pinterest, but I just know a lot of people spend a lot of time there.
I took the app off.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. Well, those are a few more great ideas. So I'm curious, what are you going to do during the great pause to thrive on the farm, in your life, with your family? I'm excited to hear. If you guys like this episode, like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it out to other farm families that would enjoy this.
And have fun.
Love it. Thanks for joining us, Elaine, and thank you for joining us. See you on the next episode. Bye.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.